What do you think about people who criticize that he can't throw the deep ball?
They don't watch football. They just read box scores or kind of something like that. Tua led the NFL before the injuries last year in throwing the football downfield. And again, in week 1, it was unbelievable to watch. He had the most 20-plus yard completions. This 3rd down and 10 that him and his trainer worked on so diligently to be ready for the game showed up. I've never understood it with Tua. I've always said since his first year, he didn't throw the ball downfield in the NFL his rookie year because they didn't have anybody to throw the ball downfield to. Now that he has not one, but 2 guys to throw the football down to, he's one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL. Yards per play in the NFL, the number 1 play is Tua throwing the football to Tyreek. The number 2 play is Tua throwing the football to Waddle. He absolutely is capable of doing it. And when people say that he can't, walk away from the conversation and ignore that comment.
First of all, a couple of things. Number 1 was supposed to be a quick take. That wasn't. Number 2, here's the deal. Tua, will people stop lying? Who the hell is it that said that Tua couldn't throw the long ball since last year?
Tons of people.
Who are these people? I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them. Not since last year. There is no way somebody watching football said that about Tua, watching him throw the football to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle last year. That is false.
People say it all the time, and they automatically go, that's why Justin Herbert should.
That is a lie. Last but not least, Dolphins offense, just a couple of stats that y'all might care about. Dolphins offense generated a league-high 17 explosive pass plays of 15 or more yards against the Chargers. Tyreek Hill had 6 catches that traveled 15 or more yards downfield, which is more than any of the other 31 teams, by the way. So I think it's important to point that out. Yes, Tua can throw the long ball. Obviously so.
Tua Tagovailoa, 28 for 45, 466 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. You heard the stats from Stephen A., and Dan Orlovsky. My goodness, he is now 2nd in the running of the odds for MVP. With that being said, I think he silenced a lot of the critics in most parts of the country. Nonetheless, I'm hearing in the Boston, New England area, there's still people in the media and fans saying that Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. How? How can you say that? Where? Numbers-wise, wins-wise, everything-wise. How? Vlad, is there reasoning that people are saying that Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah, there's only one reason.
He's our guy?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
But you got to be honest with yourself.
It's a pretty much, and also the only correlation you would say they both played at Alabama. Maybe I'm not too sure. I haven't checked it. I mean, I could look it up, but I don't know if Mac Jones had better in his 1 season starting. He probably had. Does he have like the single season record in passing yards in Alabama? That would be the only way that you could say that, oh, he had better numbers as a starter, his 1 year as a starter in Alabama than Tua. But
Tua's own Belichick.
Or you could say Mac Jones at least led his team to a playoffs. Tua hasn't.
Well, last year, you don't think Tua hasn't? You don't consider Tua being part of the team?
Did Tua start?
They're 8-3.
Did Tua start?
In the playoff game?
Yeah.
No.
Mac Jones did. That's the only way. That would be the only way.
What an argument.
Dum-dums in Boston, in New England would say something like that. But other than that, no. I'm low-key saying Tua might be the best quarterback out of all the Alabama starters right now.
Out of all the Jalen Hurts is really good, though.
He's good, but these first 2 games, he hasn't looked pretty. He's looked pretty mediocre. No offense, Trev, but he hasn't looked that great.
Mac Jones not as good as Tua,
but Tua's putting up silly numbers, bro. Like that, he's on pace. You know, I was talking during the break, the projections. They have him throwing for like what is it?
Well, let's do the math. 466 times 17.
Like 8,855 yards or something like that.
I mean, I'm not that good of a mathematician, thanks to LSU and the Mass Comm School. You know, I'm trying to get through it all. But let's try to do some math real quick. If Tua, all you got to do is keep the pace up, Tua.
That's it. That's it.
Actually, you know what?
Projection.
I'm going to give you a little bit of a break. Instead of 466, if you can just pass for 450 yards every single game, minus the 16. Times 17, you're on pace to pass for 7,650 yards. That should win you the MVP this year.
You think?
I'm just saying. Although that interception, that's got to scare you a little bit.
That one interception.
That one interception
man.
in a shootout.
Put it this way. If he's throwing those numbers and you scoring points, I can live with that interception.
Well, that's the other thing I was talking about.
Because that's who you are. You're not. It's not. You're doing something that you're not. That's who you are. You're accurate. You get the ball. I mean, he might have one of the quickest releases out there, bro. Like he gets that ball out there.
But that accuracy, whoo,
yeah,
man.
And he's got touch now.
Yeah, that dime he dropped to Tyreek Hill for that touchdown at the end of the game.
This is what I want to tell everybody. I can live. If you're a Dolphin fan, you can live with 2 to 3 throws that are,
of course,
they might have not had enough zip or look wob. But if he's gonna, out of 10 throws, if 2 or 3 is gonna be in, but the other 7 are to Waddle and to Tyreek and to Berrios, some of the throws he threw to Berrios were phenomenal, bro. So yeah, you would live with that.
I was yesterday listening to Vic Fangio saying, if we play defense like we did in game 1, we're not going to win a lot of games. You know, the defense, although not great, they were against a good offense too. I'm not all that scared because if they tighten it up a little more, just a little more, and we can score and have an offense like we had in that first game, just tightening up the defense a little bit, you're going to win a ton of games. So I don't think the defense, of course, you don't want to give up. You want to win 38-6. You want to win 38-7. But even if the defense isn't elite with this elite offense, as long as you're good on defense, you're going to be a great team. So I say, Vic Fangio, new system, new guys, first game of the year, good team, tighten it up. You don't have to tighten up the whole world and give up only 100 yards a game. Just tighten it up a little. Because if this offense could keep rolling like it is now, you're good. So maybe the defense isn't as much of a red flag. Let's be worried as much as we should have initially thought after what happened in week 1.
We expected this to be a shootout.
We did.
I don't know why Dolphins fans now. I can understand the concern because it wasn't Herbert. It wasn't Herbie that was like busting your ass. It was the running game.
Yeah.
So if the running game is going to start to kill you, and you know that there are in the AFC so many great quarterbacks. If you can't stop the run, and you got good quarterbacks, great quarterbacks with unbelievable talent, skill position players outside, that's going to be a problem. That means you're going to be in a lot of shootouts, and I don't think you want to be in a lot of shootouts. That wasn't.
But I mean, if this offense continues to roll like it does, and Tua stays healthy, you can win a lot of these shootouts. You don't want to. You'll have a heart attack. You'll eat your fingernails to the bone, but nonetheless, like I said, do I want the defense to be better? Of course, everybody wants 57-0 every game. They want to win 57-0. The offense runs up and down the field. The defense stops 3 and out every time. That's not a reality. That the defense, and I do expect them, how many weeks? I asked this last night when I was on. How many weeks do you think, and they asked Vic Fangio, does it take your players to adjust to your system? And he says, well, everywhere is different. When I was in Chicago, the cupboard was bare. When I was in Denver, we had injuries. Every situation is different. How many weeks do you give this Dolphins defense adjusting to the Vic Fangio to where they really feel comfortable in what they're doing? I say 4. By the 4th week, they should be very comfortable.
Listen,
4?
New England's not that good.
No, they're better than people.
So you can't have New England. I know they played tough against Philadelphia.
I still think they're 500.
Belichick had a whole 3 months to get ready for Philadelphia.
Still think they're about a 500 team at the end of the year.
But I'm just talking about offensively. I still think their defense is pretty formidable. But offensively, I'm not scared. Even though Mac Jones threw for 300 yards, but that was kind of in a comeback effort. You can't give up 24 to 28 points to New England tomorrow night. You give up 24, 28 points to New England. That's that's the equivalent of giving up 30 points to 34 points to the Chargers?
Yeah, but even though New England does have a good defense, what if you score 42?
That's great. But you're going to get to a point where you're going to be in a game where there's going to be a team that's going to be able to not stop the Dolphins offense, but slow down the Dolphins offense. And if they could if they get slowed down where they're not getting 6 as much as they were before, they're getting 3, but you're giving up 6, That's a problem.
Well, let's say this, Vlad. What if there is this adjustment? There is this learning curve. There is this time that they have to gel. Am I reasonable to think by week 4 they should be all on the same page and should be hitting their stride? Or do you think that might be longer than
It
that?
might be a little bit longer now,
Ooh,
Kuzan,
now we need
because
some
of
points.
because of the simple fact these guys don't really practice much in the
Right.
preseason.
They don't practice anymore.
There was, continuity is still they're trying to get there. So, and then there's an extra week, an extra game. If there's still problems by week 5, week 6, yeah, because now you're about to get to the halfway point soon.
I'll say this though. Tomorrow, if the Dolphins give up 21 points, I'm happy with that. In this day and age in the NFL, week 2 against New England. Is that okay?
How much?
21.
How many are you going to score? Because that's a good defense.
I hope you score more than 21.
But that's a good Patriots defense.
I am not lying. That's it. That's a good defense. And like I said, don't sleep on them as everyone wants to brand them as like this 3-win team. They're not a 3-win team. They're much better than that. But I say if we give up 21, I'm confident that Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, River Craycraft, Eric Izukama, Raheem Mostert, those guys can put up at least 24 points against a good defense.
I would hope so.
So what would you say? Dolphin Nation wants 0, but what would you say Dolphin Nation would be satisfied with maximum?
All right, Dolphin
17?
Nation. Let's first of all, you just be satisfied with a win
Yeah,
on the road.
that's what I'm
and in the
saying.
division. That's number one.
If the final score is 55-54, I don't care.
But there's always a flip to it. So then you're always going to look at some of the negative, and that's going to be a big negative. You don't want to be a D team that now all of a sudden you're looking at your defense. And I don't think there's too many good players on that defense that I don't think this will be happening all season. But you don't want to be the question mark on your team. You don't want to be all of a sudden the biggest question mark. The question mark before was the offensive line to me.
Are the black sheep of the team.
Now the defensive line is going to be not even the defensive line, but the defense is going to be the question mark of the team because that's not what you thought. Don't tell me Jalen Ramsey's injury
is that big of a deal.
They didn't throw the ball.
Right.
They ran the ball
running against guys like Christian Wilkins, Agba.
Yeah, you want that money. So and
Jalen Phillips,
Leroy, Big Mouth Leroy. Shout out to Leroy. Listen to
9-4.
Toby and Leroy Monday to Friday, 10 to 2 on here, 560 WQAM. I wonder if Leroy said something, and I never thought about it until he said it, and I'm like, maybe that's the thing. Is Christian Wilkins maybe getting out of his regular routine because they're saying that in order to get the money that you're asking for, you need to get sacks.
Numbers. So yeah, sexy numbers.
Yeah, so because maybe he's going for sacks a lot, that he might not be in position, or you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. But it wasn't they ran the ball. They ran the ball as if Kellen Moore wanted to say F you to everybody in the NFL media.
Well,
because it was like, oh, I got kicked out of Dallas because they said I threw the ball too much and I didn't run the ball. And I have Justin Herbert. I'm just gonna be doing what I always want to do, is throw the ball. And they ran the ball effectively down Miami's throat.
What about this argument? What if Kellen Moore was taking what was given to him? The Dolphins were taking away the passing game, therefore he had to rely more on the running game. I still think you gave up a lot of points against what is going to be a good offensive team. That's the silver lining, at least in this case. Now,
yeah, I mean, you knew it was going to be a shootout. I just don't think they thought it was going to be from that.
The ground,
they thought it was going to be
right.
I think we all thought this was going to be a shootout. It'd be Herbert versus Tua, going over 300 yards and everything like that. Only one guy did that. Only one guy lived up to that expectation.
One guy went over 400,
466
with a couple drops too, by the way. Isn't it so pretty when Tyreek Hill just gets behind the defense and it's just miles past them?
Well, yeah, if it's any other defense than the team that you root for.
Right. We were talking to Javon Holland, who has his own show here on 560 WQAM Tuesdays, Inside the Hawk and Crowder Show. He says, when you see Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle coming to you, you just have to pick your poison. You either play way back so they don't burn you and they're just going to cut their route short and go for 10, 15 yards, or you try to hang with them and they get behind you and they burn you for like 50, 60 yards. I say, if you got to pick your poison, I'm not getting burnt, man. I'm playing back. I'm not trusting my wheels against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. It's a good problem to have right there. Braxton Berrios, too.
Barrios play well. All of a sudden, you want to catch passes now. Unbelievable.
That's not a sour Jets fan. Not at all.
I'm not. There's nothing to be sour.